Yes, folks, hello, welcome once again to What Extra Games and Collectibles. It's time for another action figure review here on the channel, and as you can see on the screen in front of you right now, today's installment is going to be taking a closer look at the new G.I. Joe Classified series, Sgt Slaughter and Mercer 2-pack. So stick around, I'm going to give you all the ins and outs, ups and downs that you need to know about this pair, so that if you've been thinking about picking up this set for yourself, you'll have good, thorough information to make a purchase decision around. I'm going to start by jumping back in time and visiting past Chris, taking a look at the packaging on the day that this box arrived on my doorstep. Oh, lost one of the guns there. And then we'll get into the figures themselves and talk about the aesthetic and the visual experience, talk about the articulation and posability. We'll have a look at all the accessories and added value, and then pop them up against next to a couple of other G.I. Joe Classified series figures to see how they sit in display. And with all that said and done, you should have everything you need to know. Everything you need to know to decide whether these guys are worth cracking your wallet or purse open and spending your hard-earned cash on. So let's get into it, and let's jump back in time to visit past Chris, taking a look at the box on the day it arrived. Here we go. All right then, folks. Well, here is Sgt Slaughter and Mercer in packaging for the minting box, folks. You can see it's the usual G.I. Joe Classified series packaging we've come to know and love, particularly the 2-pack ones. You can see the carbon fiber style motif in the back there. G.I. Joe Classified series logo on the front. Joe symbol here because they're a pair of Joes. Got the names up the top. And then, of course, the window here showing off the figures and all the goodies. A lot of goodies in this one, I think, by cursory glance. Then on the back, 173 in the line, digital render showing off the characters in an action scene. Set of the slaughterhouse, little cheeky Easter egg there. Keep an eye out for another Easter egg video coming down the pipeline soon. Then we've got a couple of breakout windows with some key features highlighted, legal bollocks and malarkey across the bottom. Import sticker here because In-Demand Toys, who I use in the UK, they import their classifieds from Hong Kong. And then, of course, the file cards. Now, there's 2 file cards here for 2 characters. And because I'm reviewing 2 characters and I need to keep the review trim, I'm not going to dive into the lore in quite as much detail as I would do normally. And forgive me, folks, I know some will lament that and bomb out the review right now, and I don't blame you because, the lore stuff is super important to learn about the characters. But what I will say is that entire selection of stuff just basically says that these guys are big, they're tough, they live in the desert, they eat scorpions, and they're just a pair of badasses. Just badasses. What more is there to say? On the side here, we've got, repeating the number at the bottom there, 173, and then the artwork, shaky-ass AI artwork, fully confirmed. I think this is made its way out across the socials. I mean, just look at the shaky proportions of that gum, the random floating lens from the sunglasses there. It's just bad, man. It's bad, Hasbro. Naughty, Hasbro. Naughty. That's real not cool. Then on the other side, 173 again. Repeat the file card, repeat the artwork, and the QR code to nowhere. And there we go. There's the pair of them in packaging. So if you're minting box, you've had a peek at that, or if you're interested in the peg presents. I, however, am not minting box. I'm going to get these bad boys opened up, get good and hands-on, have some man-child playtime, take some photos, do some displays with them, make some notes, and those notes will make the review that I'm imminently about to give you. So stick around, because Future Chris is coming back in a couple of seconds to share those review notes in 3, 2, 1. Moving on into the review section of the video, then let's start with the aesthetic qualities, the visual experience, and we'll kick off with the Sarge here. So as you can see, this is the Sgt Slaughter in a Desert Camo style design. I'm not as familiar with this look, this particular design. I did a bit of research. It's from later on in G.I. Joe figure releases. So in terms of tapping into my feelings of nostalgia, it wasn't there. But I did have a quick peek at a picture, and this is, like many other G.I. Joe Classified figures at this moment in time, very heavily inspired by the original figure that it's drawing inspiration from. I just wouldn't describe it as vintage because it was like from 2006, 2007 or something. And I'll confess, I said it when I saw the original reveals, this is a bit of a downside of the 2-pack for me because I was more in it for Mercer, and I was a little disappointed to see that we were getting this figure. But you know what? With him in hand and looking at him for realsies, he does strike a pretty imposing figure, a very Sgt Slaughter type figure. And the new book that they've used, I think, is an improvement. This is the heavy-duty top half. I'm not sure where the legs are from, but it's definitely the heavy-duty top half. So he's still got the bulk, still got the height, and still giving off that large, muscular, kind of imposing wrestler vibe about him for sure. Moving in a bit closer, let's just pop the hat and shades off there. This is the new head that has come with the set. This is the one that was on him out of the packaging with the whistle there in the mouth. It's a good sculpt. It looks like Sgt Slaughter. It's up to the usual standard. Good facial features, good paint applications there. The introduction of this whistle with the little whistle string that sort of curls round the back there, so it looks like it's been hanging around his neck, is great. He's got the classic Sgt Slaughter haircut and everything there. Yeah, really, really good. No complaints there. And then moving down into the body, like I said before, it's the heavy-duty top half, so we can see it's the same shirt, just obviously a different colour in this more kind of desert khaki camo style. So he's got the torn-off sleeves at the side there, the same sort of shirt creases and embellishments like the buttons and pockets and stuff. That's all fine and dandy. A little bit shiny up top, maybe. The bullet belt there is draped across the body. Again, having a look at the figure that this is inspired by, that had the bullet belt across the body as well, but you can take that on and off. It's a loose piece as you see fit. One thing I noticed, and it is being a bit picky, but he's got this little wristwatch on here, but nothing on the face. They usually put like a little something on the face of the watches and things, and nothing there on the face, which was a bit of a bummer. And then moving down into the pants, you can see he's got this kind of desert camo style design there. Again, got the sort of texture details in there, like the creases and folds and the bunching up here around the top of the boot to bring it to life and give it some depth, which is fine and lovely. The stuff on the thighs as well, like the knife sheath here, has got a bit of a leathery effect on it as well to give it some depth, as does his pistol holster on the other thigh. And then round back, we've got a trio of grenades strapped to the back of his belt with some green paint applications on there, although they do look a little kind of plasticky, a bit kind of, I don't know what the word is, toy. I'll talk about the hat and glasses quickly here now because they came on the figure as he came out of the box. The glasses were mangled up to fuck when they came out of the box. And I've not really got them quite, I've done a bit of heating and bending to try and sort of straighten them up and get them right, but you can see there they don't sit correct. However, they are the signature, Sgt Slaughter style aviators there, but with a kind of Elvis-style gold with the see-through lenses rather than the mirrored lenses that we got with the other Sgt Slaughter, but obviously a big part of his visual identity. And then the first of 3 hats that are included in the set for Sgt Slaughter there. Again, this is the one that was included on the figure out of the packaging, which is the classic look brimmed hat there. Nice details on this. We got the little insignia there with a paint application applied to it, and then the straps around the rim. So yeah, that's nice and sort of completes that final look of the figure. And then on to Mercer here. Again, this is how he came out of the packaging. We'll have a look at things like the head swap and stuff a little later on. And as you can see, Mercer is sporting his signature look as well that we all know and love from the original vintage figure and from his appearance in G.I. Joe the movie and such like. This is obviously not the DIC cartoon version of Mercer. So, of course, as the defected Viper here, we've got that kind of core blue trouser leg, red vest Viper look about him with the Cobra kind of snake vipery pattern there down the legs and stuff. So he's in the classic color scheme, and all the other kind of core features are there, like the holster on the vest here, the 2 black pockets which he had originally. Yeah, it's the classic signature look once again. Moving in a bit closer, the head that came on Mercer out the box was this kind of growling, grimacing face there. Which is interesting. I don't know if I like it or not. I'm struggling to decide. I took a couple of photos with him and Sgt Slaughter yesterday, just getting a bit of man-child playtime in and making some notes for this review. And then some photos, I was like, yeah, that's actually nice to have a sort of angry, grimacing face. And then other photos, I was like, nah. And the vanilla one wasn't doing it either. But nonetheless, I mean, the core engineered features of it all are fine. He's got good facial features in there. Obviously, the contours and the shapes around the chin, the cheeks, and the mouth to make that angry grimace come to life. I don't know if it's the teeth, maybe. It just kind of looks a bit... I can't put my finger on it. Someone help me find the word in the comments down below for what I'm looking for, but it just looks a bit slightly janky. I can't put my finger on it. But the fundamentals are there. The eyes are well painted, the eyebrows are well painted, the sculpting quality is good. I'd probably say his hair's a little bit too short, a bit too 2020s and not 1980s enough. Like he had a taller do, more kid and play. Well, not quite kid and play height, but it was taller in the cartoon for sure. But yeah, it's fine. It's okay. And you've got the other head sculpt anyway. If this one's not tickling your fancy, it says digging it out of his tin here. We'll have a look at that in a minute. And then moving down into the body, we can see we've got the classic, the Cobra badge with the lines put through it. He's got the black trimmings on top of the red vest there, like with the black pockets, the black holster, the little, what are these called? The epaulettes in the on the shoulder there. Slightly darker shade of red as well there. Can you see just on the underside on this padded section? Which is nice to give it a bit of contrast, and then some nice texture detail in here around the padded sections, but also through the main body of the vest, and some little touches like the zip is painted here at the top, and this little buckle is painted on this pocket. There you go, you can see the contrast of the different reds on the padded sections. On the back, much better look. There's lots of other lovely embellishments as well. He's got this weird strap around there, which I can't figure out what purpose that serves, but it's a black strap with a metallic clasp on it. But then you can see he's got this gloved section here with the two different colours on it, and then the gloves with the little padded sections on the knuckles on the back for punching vipers. And on the other side, we've got the same glove, but you can see it doesn't go quite as far up the forearm. And then a face on his wristwatch. Look there, just saying. And a couple of little tattoos around the back. We've got a little spider there, and this little skull on a spider's web on his elbow. Got his nice little belt section in the middle here as well. Again, painted belt buckles, always a big fan of that. And then the bullets in the bullet belt, I've got the brass sections painted top and bottom, which always brings it to life more for me. And then down into the trousers, we've got the texture detail. I mentioned the grey trimmings with the Viper padding design on them, and the knee pads with the Viper padding design on them. And then his boots look suitably leathery. I suppose aesthetically, one of the main criticisms someone might have of Mercer, and I'd be inclined to agree, is that in his cartoon appearances in the movie, G.I. Joe the movie appearances, the Renegades were big dudes, and they gave the impression that they were taller than Falcon, towering over him, and Mercer here, while still a big figure, he's bulky, and he's got some bulky menace on him. He's not got the height. He's not got the height, and he's average G.I. Joe classified figure height. If you put him next to, I don't know, who did I have him next to earlier? Footloose and stuff, and Falcon, he's the same height. So aesthetically, yeah, they're solid, they're decent, thumbs up. I think there's a few things, to dislike. I feel like some of the detail on Sgt Slaughter's lacking, especially next to Mercer. Like just a splash of something on the buttons, maybe, or I don't know. He just could have done with perhaps a bit more depth up top here on the shirt. And the little touches, the attention to detail stuff missing, like the watch face on Sgt Slaughter. Of course, there's always that element that this is a two-part. Most of us, if you're like me, possibly didn't need nor want a camo Sgt Slaughter. That's not to say there isn't people who didn't, but just I didn't, and I think there may be people like me who went in because they wanted the Mercer, because they wanted the Renegade to start filling out that team, especially with the Taurus and Red Dog two-pack coming down the pipeline there. But yeah, fundamentally, there's nothing wrong with them. They've got a good look about them. So I'm going to give it a thumbs up. Yeah, not much else to say really on that front. There's the aesthetic and visual experience. So with that said and done, let's now very quickly get into the articulation. I'm going to make this a short segment, folks, and just whip through just some of the key differences to the usual articulation experience, I think, rather than giving you a full rundown, if you'll excuse me for that. So the main thing with Sgt Slaughter, really, everything is standard. The head is the two ball joints. We've got the butterfly in there. We've got the articulation down the arm that we've come to know and love. The drop down ball joints, the knees, the thigh cuts, the boot cuts in there and everything. The main difference here is the barbell joint across the middle for the torso articulation, which means you get kind of more sort of swivelly action in there rather than the hinge action, but that doesn't affect his crunch all that much. You can still do quite a bit with the figure, so he articulates well, and I've managed to pose him up into some fun kind of Sgt Slaughter punching the shit out of people kind of poses and getting my merry fun. The only thing I'll point out is that obviously the first Sgt Slaughter figure had pinned limbs. Were the legs pinned? I can't remember. No, I've just had a look. The legs weren't pinned, but the arms were, and this of course looks quite nice. Much neater with the pinless arms. Mercer is standard G.I. Joe classified series articulation through and through. In fact, he's a bit of a throwback And I'll explain that in a moment. But everything's there. The balls on the head and the neck. He's got the butterfly joints. He's got the arm articulation, the standard leg articulation, boot cut there at the top of the boot, all present and correct. The main thing here is that I think he's got the standard hinging under here, but you wouldn't know. Whereas some of the combat vests of late have been designed slightly higher up the torso so that you can make a bit of use of the hinge underneath. Not the case with Mercer at all, and so he's a bit of a throwback because he's like those early G.I. Joes with the big bulky vests that you couldn't do anything with the torso articulation with either. The ball joint in the waist, though, as you probably just noticed, does do a bit of the work for you, so it's not a complete disaster, but that's the main quirk with Mercer. So yeah, this pair posed good, the articulation is fine, I'll give it a thumbs up. Like I mentioned before, I was taking some photos with them last night, and some of the poses I was letting my imagination come up with and giving a go. No problems there. I wasn't limited by the articulation at all, despite what's going on with Mercer's vest. So, just not me like there. All good, all fine, no problems at all. Apologies to those who wanted a full rundown. I'm just very conscious with these 2-pack reviews get long, so I'm just trimming it up and giving you a quick and dirty articulation section there. However, what I'm not going to give you a quick and dirty is the accessories and added value, because there's loads of those, so let's get into that, shall we? And I'm going to start with Mercer's side of the accessory selection and to kick this section of the review off. And as you can see here, the first thing on the list is his head swap. I mentioned it before, the more kind of vanilla looking, or blander facial expression on there. Although I must admit, I like this one better because even though I've just described it as vanilla, it's more about being stoic and mean, which works for me. So again, you can see the sculpting is good. It's got good facial features, good contours, the cheeks, the lips, the chin, the furrowed brow, all that good stuff's in there. Good paint applications on the lips, the eyes, the eyebrows. He's got the nice tall haircut as well with sculpted details in there. So this is my preferred head of the two. And yeah, looking pretty good, looking decent. The only thing I'll say, as I mentioned before, is it just seems a bit wider. He just seems more wider overall, like with the body, and same with the head, and not as tall and as slender as I picture him from the movie. And then while we're up in the headspace, Mercer's also got a set of protective eyewear here, some shooting glasses, if you will, in this kind of sort of visor style, Oakley style design with the yellow plastic bits and the black trimming. As you can see, once again, just like with Sgt Slaughter's, these came out the package really mangled up. They're super loose. I've tried to heat them a bit and bend them so they sit a bit better on his head. I think I've succeeded a bit more than I have done with the Sergeant's ones. Then into the weapon selection. The first on the list, well, I mean, obviously with the 2-pack, with all the weapons, you can chop and change them between the two figures as you see fit. I've just kind of assumed that this one and the other one I'm about to mention are Mercer's because of the colour scheme, really. But you can do what you like, basically. But yeah, this is a fun piece of kit. Look at this, got lovely sculpted details in there. Got the red stripe on it, which obviously matches up then with the red in his uniform, which is one of the reasons why I was feeling like this might be Mercer's gun. Yeah, very unique and curious design. I've got no idea what type of weapon that is, whether it's like some sort of sci-fi laser blaster or whether it's based on a real-life firearm. I don't know. Of course, one of you guys will make sure I'm up to speed on that. Calling Billy once again. But yeah, I like the look of that one. Aesthetically, it's interesting, and it's particularly interesting in his hands. Then we've got this thing here, which I think is more kind of, I don't know, is it more submachine gunny? All you folks who know a little something about firearms will be screaming at your screen right now. But yeah, it's another interesting, very curious looking weapon. I get the sense it's designed for like a high rate of fire or something. It's certainly got this super long magazine that's removable there. So it's an interesting design. It's a bit gummy. A bit wibbly wobbly, a bit loose. In fact, there's a few of them in this set that are a bit loose. And again, I'm putting this kind of on Mercer's side of the selection, his share of the accessories, just because of the plain black design, but that's available for use with him. Then Mercer's got a small arms selection, got himself a little handgun here, a little pistol, and then he's got a dagger as well. The pistol's fine. It looks pistoly. It's, single piece of molded plastic. Again, a little bit loose and gummy there, but it's A-okay. And the dagger's fine as well. Regulars around these parts know I love it when we get a painted blade on our bladed weapons. It's got a nice little hilt and handle there and stuff, which is all good. So yeah, little small arm selection there. And both of these can be stored on the figure. Got the holster here for the pistol. And an ankle sheath here for his dagger. Mercer does come with a couple of hand swaps here. There's 4 fists in the box, and you can kind of tell which one's Sgt Slaughter's and which one's Mercer's by the size of the pegs there. Although I will admit, when I first opened it up, I stared at them for ages going, what's going on here? It took me a minute. But he's got the newer, shorter, stuntier pegs on Mercer's and the longer pegs on Sgt Slaughter's there. But as you can see, they've skanked us on these. These are just plain, skin-coloured hands. They don't have his glove design on them, and frankly, they look a bit bobbins when you put them on the figure, especially with the arm that's got the little gauntlet piece on it. So yeah, thanks for throwing it in. It'll go in the bits box, and I'll use them with some other Joes, but not great really. Not fantastic. They really should be with the gloves on them. And Mercer's got a backpack that comes with him here. We've seen this one before in the line a couple of times now. So it's just one single big lump of molded plastic. I mean, the sculpt is great, but there's no splash of colour or anything to bring it to life. His drinks containers don't have a paint app on the tip of the bottle caps or anything, but yeah, it's okay, it's fine, it's just, standard. Surprised he didn't get a Viper design one without the Cobra badge or something. That would have been interesting, wouldn't it? But no, they've just dug out the kind of classic, kind of core, very standard, straight up backpack that we've seen a couple of times. Then on to the Sarge, and as you can see, the first thing on the list here is the Sarge's alternative head sculpt. This is reuse of the first head sculpt that they used with the first Sgt Slaughter figure, although the paint, the hair colour on the tash and the hair is a little touch darker. Not that it matters at all, but it's an observation. Then, as I mentioned earlier, the Sergeant's got a couple of extra hats. Here's the first one. It's the red beret. We've obviously seen berets of this style and design in the line before. He's got his little insignia on the front, got his little leather rim around the base, good shape and contour of the beret as it folds down the side, and yeah, a pretty good look on his head, particularly for anyone who's a fan of when he turned heel back in the day. Then we got his cap in the the matching kind of desert camo sand colour there. This is reuse from Leatherneck, good US Marine style hat there. Got the insignia as a little decal on the front. Good shape, good fit, and again, what can I say? The Sarge knows how to pull off a hat. You know what I mean? All 3 different designs, and they look banging on him. You know what I mean? Then on to his weapons loadout, and this, I think, is probably the most eye-catching of the lot. Well, maybe his pistol's pretty eye-catching too, but this looks intense. Look at this. What is it? Like a pump-action shotgun style grenade launcher thing here. This looks proper like damage output here, doesn't it? But yeah, big, beefy, chunky piece of kit for the Sarge to be carrying around. Got the little extra bit of paint on the grip here, and then the extra different colours on these sort of massive, explosive shells, are they? But got the brass colour in there as well, which is nice to see. And then a huge old chunky barrel on it as well. Look at that. So yeah, that's really eye-catching, really intense, big piece of kit for your Sarge to be carting around. Then we've got this rifle here. Again, sorry folks, I don't know what this is. It looks like from one of the video games I used to play. Is it an AUG? I'm trying, guys. I need to buy one of those books that Sharky and Aaron have just picked up, don't I? But nonetheless, it's here. It's a nice little rifle design. Quite firm, this one, actually. Not too bad compared to some of the others. Got the desert camo style paint there across the top to uniformly match his gear, which is nice. And then got this big drum drum magazine there that you can pop off and pop on as you see fit. Then we've got your more traditional kind of US military style rifle here. A little grenade launcher on the bottom there. This little extra kind of pouch pocket thing on his butt, which I think is interesting. Removable magazine, usual kind of routine there. So a little splash of colour in here. Although this is like super wobbly. This one's really gummy. But yeah, that's a nice piece of kit as well. I mentioned that the other eye-catching weapon was his pistol. Got this big hand cannon here. This is like the Dirty Harry Magnum style of pistol, with the nice silver body and barrel, and then the white handle on it there, which is nice, real standout piece of gear. Very appropriate for the Sarge. This has got a holster on his thigh, but I've got to admit, guys, this holster, I think this must be reused from somewhere because it just really, really drowns the pistol there. Look at that. It's not a nice fit at all. Then to finish up on weapons, he's got this big old kind of short bladed machete type thing here. Again, paint application on the blade, always keen on that. And a nice big handle, useful bit of kit, you know, standard gear. And he's got that sheath on the other thigh. And that just slides in like so. Then the Sarge has his baton. I've forgotten, I looked this up actually last time when I reviewed the first one as to what it's actually called. In military service, and I've gone and bloody well forgotten. So apologies, folks. But this is reused from the first Sarge. Got the little brass ball at the end, the little red handle, got the little piece of tie there. So yeah, again, with the whistle, you know, this is a nice bit of flavour, the drill sergeant kind of vibe. Sarge's got some hand swaps too. He's got the trigger hand for the right hand. He's got a closed fist there for the left arm. And then he's got his open palm salute, or, you know, Batman slap for the right arm. And finally, we've got these couple of like little silencer suppressory things here. This one in the more kind of blocky design, and then this one in the more traditional kind of spherical barrel type design. But these are a bit rubbish. Like this more kind of cubey one, you would think maybe fits on this here, but in that barrel hole, look, it's super loose, like really loose, and just falls out all the time. This one, the more spherical barrel-shaped one, just, I don't know, just, you know, smaller, gets drowned out by the barrel. Works okay on Mercer's pistol, you know, I suppose. But, yeah, they've sort of thrown them in, but they're a bit, the implementation of them isn't all that great, really. So, yeah, do with them what you will. So there we go, there's the accessory selection. And do you know what? It's all right. It certainly added value. I am going to give it a thumbs up because I feel, in fairness, I have to. But I do feel like it's a little ill thought out, a little badly implemented, you know? So they've done stuff like, I'm always happy with a head swap and hat changes and glasses that you can take on and off and stuff, because that adds to the look. You can set different scenes, different contexts with your figures. Always happy to have hand swaps. But then, you know, just the whole thing with Mercer's hand swaps, not having the gloves on them, just seems a bit like, oh, come on, guys, you know. And then throwing in loads of extra rifles and things is fine, but like Mercer would have been fine with the one gun he's got. Sergeant, that big old shotgun thing, and then his rifle, and they could have popped two other different things in there that could have been a bit more world buildery or something. You know, I don't know what, but just something that could have added more flavour to it. You know, I didn't need these extra guns, perhaps, you know. I mean, they'll go in the bits box, or like suppressors that don't actually fit in any of the barrels, or a pair of hands that don't actually match the figure, you know. So it's got highs and lows. I'm a bit conflicted on the accessory selection with this one, you know. Happy to have the head swaps, happy to have the different hats for the Sarge, you know. Love things like his baton's been included. Love, you know, but I don't know. Am I talking bobbins? You let me know how you feel about it in the comments down below. But that's kind of where I'm at with it. So I'm giving it a thumbs up because they have thrown a lot of stuff in there, but I feel like it's perhaps flawed or a bit ill thought through. And then things like his pistol not fitting in his eye holster properly is just a bit of an annoyance. Again, that's just like a little attention to detail thing that I expect better from G.I. Joe Classified for. I'm judging them by their own standard there. So there you go, there's the accessories. Right, let's now take a look at the figures next to a couple of other G.I. Joes, shall we? And starting us off with the obvious comparison, Sarge next to Sarge. You can kind of see where the differences in the book and the design. And, you know, there is enough space between them, I think. Just enough space between them. I'm not one for repeat characters unless there's enough of a difference, he says, recently buying a lot of repeat characters, but I do feel like there's enough space between them there. Here's Mercer next to a standard Cobra Viper there. I think that's the Cobra Island one there, not the 3-pack one. But considering that he's a defected Viper, there's not a lot of reuse in there. You know, even though the sort of the visual, the design language of what he's wearing is saying, you know, Viper, it's not. I wonder, whose are these legs? Is it Copperhead's maybe? No, not copperheads or scrap irons. Here's Mercer next to, somewhat Renegade, stroke Rawhide. Falcon, that's with the Night Force Falcon head on him though there. Here's the Sarge next to Heavy Duty. I mentioned before that the top half is the same across these two. And then just to finish up, here's Mercer next to Breaker, who I happen to have hanging around from a picture I was taking yesterday. Just to give you a sense of the size difference, the height difference. Breaker's knees are a little bit more bent than Mercer's there, so you can see Mercer's coming in at around the average height there, really. Okay, folks, well, here's the pair of them going around on the turntable, so you can take a 360 view at the figures, and while you're eyeballing that, I'll offer up some final thoughts, and the set's okay. It's all right. I'd be lying if I said that my view wasn't a little bit tainted going in by the fact that I didn't really want the Sarge. I didn't really want the Sarge, but I really wanted the Mercer. The FOMO got the better of me, and now I've got a bit of buyer's remorse around that, I think, especially since I'm sure I heard Lenny say somewhere around about recently that there's probably going to be an independent Mercer release, which is like, But, just some of the downsides, some of the smaller little bits have accumulated to irritate me. Things like those glasses just being, I checked them against the original Slaughter's glasses. The original Slaughter's glasses are a much firmer, better quality plastic, whereas these are just all rubbery and mangled, and they came out of the box like that. And the weird Mercer grimacing face, I mean, I don't know, your mileage might vary on this one, but I think it looks a bit weird, not right. And the fact that his holster, the pistol is drowned out by the holster, and just all these little kind of touches, throwing in guns that I neither needed nor wanted to add value. It just doesn't feel very G.I. Joe classified. If in terms of what I've come to know and love and expect from the line. I mean, Mercer's fine with his more standard head sculpt, although I will say I think he's too short. He is too short. So yeah, I don't know, just these little niggles have all added up just to kind of aggravate me around the set, and I was already a little aggravated about the set to begin with. So that's that's a big piece of context there to take on board with regards to my recommendation, because I'm actually probably going to say I wouldn't recommend this set. I just don't think. Nah, I'm just not so sure. It's just not landed well with me, folks. I don't know what else to tell you. Other than to give you the full open and transparent context around that. So take of that what you will. All right, well, I hope I have helped you make a purchase decision there. If I have, then take a minute to go and hit the subscribe button, hit the like and all that good stuff. I'd love it if you came around for another video sometime soon, so keep an eye out for the channel for stuff coming down the pipeline. Got the police officer coming any day now, and some more coverage of the lead up to New York Comic Con. But all that remains to say is have a great day, have a great week, and I'll catch you next time. All right, take it easy, folks.